What's up everybody, and welcome to the channel. In today's video, we're going to take a look at this 2024 Chevrolet Trax 2RS. This one is finished off in crimson metallic. MSRP is just $26,500. So let's get right into this crossover SUV. Underneath the hood of the 2024 Chevrolet Trax, you're going to find a 1.2 liter 3-cylinder turbocharged motor. It cranks out 137 horsepower with 162 pound-feet of torque, paired to a 6-speed automatic transmission, and this car is front-wheel drive. It can achieve 26 mpg in the city, 32 out on the highway, and then ground clearance on this car is about 7.3 inches. Overall length is 178.6 inches with a wheelbase at 106. Width is 71.8 and height is 61.7 inches. Moving on to the exterior styling with the 2024 Trax. This is a pretty good looking small size crossover. Gotta see a lot of angular lines, certainly has some aggression. We have a nice set of LED daytime running lights up on top, which are also your turn signals. Then you can see this dark chrome trim surrounding it, and I like how it cuts into this body color. The actual headlight is down below here, of course LED, and it has a blacked out housing with dark trim behind it. You can see how that chrome trim piece cuts all the way towards the Chevy logo right in the center, which is blacked out, and we get a pretty nice gloss black grille with huge mesh. You're going to see that RS badge on the far side as well. I think the front end really does come together. This looks like a pretty sporty compact crossover. Got an opening down below for more cooling to the intercooler, and then a nice dark color for that front splitter. Definitely really sweet lines all around, and then a prominent line in the center of the hood fading towards the windshield with two sharp lines around it. You can see some Camaro as well as the Colorado vibe, I think, in this crossover. So it really fits the family of Chevrolet very nicely. At the side profile, we have a cool looking set of 19-inch wheels with a diamond cut and carbon flash color. You can kind of see a little bit of Lamborghini in those wheels, honestly, which is a really sweet looking touch. Got some sharp trim around the front fender with plastic trim, and then more of that plastic for the lower portion of these doors. You're also going to see body color door handles, gloss black mirror caps, and then all gloss black trim surrounding the windows. For the side proportion, definitely a very good looking profile with sharp lines all around. You can see the one on the front fender that fades under the windshield, then a very prominent one that goes towards these rear wheels. In back, you're also going to see gloss black. Along the roof rails, there's a sunroof up in front, then an integrated spoiler in back finished in body color. The Trax has a nice looking set of taillights integrated into the body. They stick out just a little bit to add some width to that rear end. Get the blacked out Trax logo, dark plastic trim surrounding the rear bumper with some gloss right in the center, more sharp lines surrounding the license plate, blacked out Chevy badge, and then sharp lines to finish it up. Got the RS badge as well, and I think overall it's a good looking affordable crossover. Moving to the key fob, we get unlock and lock, remote start, Chevy badge on the backside. If I go ahead and lock the car, you can just keep the key fob in your pocket, pressing that button, it'll automatically unlock. We can take a look at the jet black interior. You're going to see the leather material, some red accents as well for the RS. Door panels finished off in black. You do get some hard plastic on the upper portion of the door as well as your armrest. However, we get the nice smooth black vinyl with red stitching, release handle with lock and unlock, all of the window and mirror controls, cool looking texture to it, and then some storage down below. You have all manual controls for the seats, but I like the smooth synthetic leather material with red stitching, all the perforated leather in the center, and then it makes its way up the backrest. I really like the RS logo on the back. You can see the stripe as well as the headrest. Definitely a sporty looking seat. And then we get somewhat of a flat bottom design on the steering wheel with gloss black trim, red stitching, and a blacked out Chevy badge. And then now inside the 2024 Chevy Trax, we can go ahead and fire it up. Both of the LCD screens are going to turn on. We have a pretty nice looking gauge cluster with your tach and speedometer. You have fuel on the left side, engine temperature and odometer on the right. Taking a look at the steering wheel, you can see controls on the left side for all the cruise control as well as your heated steering wheel, Bluetooth and audio controls on the right side, and then you have volume on the back on this side and track tuning on the back on that side. We have the stock on the right side for all the windshield wiper controls, turn signal and automatic high beams on the left, and then down below you can see some interior dimming controls, headlight controls, and I love the addition to that red accent around that air vent. You just get some hard plastic for the dashboard. However, over on the passenger side, you get a cool texture that kind of matches those pieces on the doors, more of that red, and then a gloss black trim piece. The infotainment screen right in the center is kind of what you would expect for a lot of modern General Motors vehicle. We have Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. You do get a shortcut to view a lot of your settings for climate control. You have shortcuts on the left side to go into your audio. We have phone integration. This one right here pops up with traction control. And then underneath that, for this page, you can see some maintenance, trip. You have gauges as well, just to monitor a few more vitals within the car. Maintenance schedule as well. Then your home icon right here, back to where we were. Now if I go ahead, put it into reverse, you're gonna see that backup camera popping up. Pretty good HD graphics along with your guidelines. Then you're going back into park. Underneath that, we have 2 air vents and then physical climate controls. We have your temperature on this left side, fan speed on the right, with a nice little LCD screen in the center. You can also see all of your different zones, heated seats, and then wireless phone charging with a few auxiliaries. You're gonna see the lane keeping assist. We also have the engine start stop, and then more of these red accents throughout the shifter. We get an electronic park and brake, 2 cup holders, and a storage slot for your phone. More storage down below, and then some vinyl material for this armrest. Opening it up, it does have a pretty good amount of storage space, and then your glove box, as expected, is pretty large. One last look at this 2024 Chevy Trax. For being a very affordable car, this is really sporty, being the RS, which is what I would assume really sporty is the abbreviation for. But definitely a nice interior for what it is. Black headliner, manual sunshade for that sunroof, then all of your controls and dome lights. Moving on to the rear seat space, grabbing the door and opening it up. You have a very similar door panel, however it is solid plastic back here, so very hard plastic all throughout it. The seats are going to give you the same smooth leather with stitching and then the perforations throughout the center, and you still even get that red stripe. The headrest you can grab and fold these down for better driver visibility, and then it doesn't appear to be any sort of armrest in the center. However, you do have just a little bit of storage, 2 plugs, and then just a little storage behind the passenger seat. Now from here, you can grab this lever, pull this down, you're gonna fold nice and flat to give you even more cargo space. All right, so sitting in the back seat of this Chevy Trax at 5'11", I'm actually sitting back here pretty good. I have a couple inches of headroom. The seats are at a good recline. They don't recline any addition to what they're already at, but it's actually a comfortable seat. Good amount of padding. My legs aren't in my chest or anything. Good knee room and leg room as well. So surprising already for a little car. Now the armrest on the left side, it's hard plastic, so it's not the greatest. However, I mean, it's better than nothing. Unfortunately, nothing in the center. But overall, being that you do have good room, good visibility with all the glass back here, not a bad back seat. Wouldn't mind, of course, some climate control vents or something, but for a very affordable car, the fact that it's comfortable back here is pretty good. Moving on to the cargo area now, there's a button underneath the Chevy badge. We can manually lift that open. You're gonna see a pretty good amount of storage space in here. It's nice and squared off. We do have a removable privacy cover as well. And then if you grab the floor and lift it up, we have a nice size spare tire with a little bit of extra storage. There is a cubby over on the left side along with the right side, and then with the privacy cover removed from back here, you can actually just grab those handles, push them forward a little bit, and we can get these seats folded nice and flat. And from here, it really opens up the interior cargo space. Once again, for being such a small car, it's actually pretty roomy. Plenty of space up in front of these seats, and really definitely a lot of space for the interior. All right, so we are setting off now in the Trax 2RS. Certainly not a fast car at all with only a 3-cylinder. However, it actually does get up to speed fine. It's not like it's too slow to get out of its own way. If you're just cruising and need to get up a little bit, I mean, that's up to 55, 60 pretty quickly. So not bad, and you're getting good gas mileage. So normal driving, you do have a really good view around. Windshield's really large. Mirrors all seem to do a great job. Visibility is really good over your right and left shoulders. Maybe the rear corner of the car is a little bulky, but honestly, it's a small enough vehicle to where you don't really notice it. When you're on cruise control and everything, of course, lane keeping works much better on the highway. However, the distance pacing works really nicely. It maintains the speed pretty well. This is actually a pretty comfortable car. I'm sitting in here and these seats are nicely padded. Pretty good use of materials for what you touch. Only complaints, I would say the armrests are kind of hard. It's just hard rubber, so not really the most comfortable armrests. But the seats are fine, and it's a nice place to be. It's not really noisy or anything. You've been going 50, taking some sweeping turns. You know, the car is pretty confident, pretty composed. It doesn't feel cheap. And honestly, I'm pretty impressed with the price point. These start around $20,000. This one's about fully loaded. I believe an active is the other trim level that's about the same as this, but very much under 30 grand. This seems to be super affordable for what it is, and it doesn't feel like just a cheap little crossover. It actually feels really nice to be in here. It's very simple the way the gauges are and everything are laid out. Like, there's no configurability for a digital screen, which could be cool. However, you know, there's no drive modes or anything, but it looks nice. It's easy to use. Everything on the screen works the way you would expect, and it has simple controls, good storage, things like that. So not bad. And at 5'11", I'm sitting here with good leg room. My legs are nice and stretched out a little bit. I'm not sitting on the floor to where my knees feel bent or anything weird. So I feel like I'm in a pretty comfortable seat. I could probably do this, you know, all day long. And the fact that those rear seats actually have some space is pretty impressive. But normal driving, it definitely feels like a pretty kind of what you would expect crossover. However, nicer, because sometimes the affordable ones are very cheap feeling. This doesn't feel like that. It feels like a good place to be. Now we got some big train track bumps. We'll see kind of the build quality, things like that. Looking around and touching things in this interior, while there are a lot of plastic components, you know, for the price, it's kind of justifiable, but the overall ride quality and stuff like that, it feels pretty solid. So hitting this, wow, that actually took it like a champ. We're only going 20 over it, but I've been in some cars that bump really hurts. So the fact that this actually feels pretty solid for the price point and everything seems like a pretty good option. So now, honest thoughts with the Trax, I'm actually pleasantly surprised. When I saw the price tag, honestly, really affordable car to get into, and it doesn't feel like, you know, a cheaper car. There's a lot of really compact, very affordable crossovers these days that you really are sacrificing a nice car just to get something very cheap. So it's nice to see something that's pretty easy to get into, and yet it actually feels like a nice car. Good layout, good fit and finish, good ride quality. Hitting these big train track bumps a little bit faster this time. Very solid. That is not bad at all. Now, like I said, the armrests, they're a little on the hard side. I wouldn't mind nicer material, more of a true synthetic leather, kind of like what you see on the door panel, and actually have some padding. This really is just kind of hard rubber, which, you know, leaves you to be desiring more padding. Getting up to speed though, not bad. It's only going to about 4,000 to 5,000 RPM, so it's not stressing the engine. It doesn't feel like it's stressing. You know, I've driven the Ford Bronco Sport, which I would say is probably a pretty good competitor to this. That 3-cylinder feels like it's stressing a little bit too much. So this one does feel a little bit better than that. The 6-speed also feels a little better as well. So it seems to manage the power nicely to where this does drive fine. You know, if you're gonna be getting on it and wanting more power out of it, probably wouldn't go for a 3-cylinder. I don't know how much longevity there is in a small engine like this, especially if you're beating on it. That might be a lot of work. But if you're just driving around town, city driving, getting up on the highway, casually cruising, I don't think this engine would have any crazy issues, provided it is a, you know, pretty normal, reliable engine. But I can see it being perfectly fine in power and things like that, and it propels the car nicely, getting good gas mileage. So not a bad option at all. The styling's awesome. I'm really impressed with how cool it looks. When I saw I was getting a Trax this week, I was thinking of the crappiest little Chevy thing in the world, but when it showed up, I was like, wow, that is actually a cool looking little crossover. It's not what I expected. So 2024, at least, this model year is a sweet looking car. The wheels on the RS, just the styling, especially in a really nice red like this color. I mean, it's a cool looking car, and it's nice how you can get into something affordable that looks like this. You don't have to get the weird proportioned, micro-sized economy crossover. You can get something that looks cool, something you can enjoy driving and be comfortable in. So I'm pretty impressed. For an affordable crossover, this is a really good option. You have enough technology in here. Of course, there's other trim levels if you want to spec it differently, or even tone it down, maybe just get a semi-sporty trim without some of the extra bells and whistles. But overall, can't really complain too much. I think it's just a nice overall car. Biggest complaints would just be the plastic in here. I mean, this whole door panel, the rear, you know, there's a lot of plastic in it, which could be a little nicer, I would say. And then the back, you really got to see some vents back there. I don't know why car companies still make cars where there's no air vents in the back. It just makes it kind of hot back there. But overall, I would say this is a pretty good option for especially two people where you're not really putting people in the back. You know, this is perfectly fine. But there is the 2024 Chevrolet Trax 2RS. Every time I say 2RS, I think of a Porsche 911 GT2RS, which is significantly different than this. However, this is a pretty nice option for the money, and I feel like at the price point you can't really complain with what it has to offer. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, stay tuned for plenty more content, and I'll see you all in the next video.